Hello everyone, welcome to the stream. So today I'm going to be doing a Poseidon mid guide. I'm going to be taking a look at Poseidon, going to go into jungle practice and kind of just explain how to play him and such. So let's get right into it. Open up jungle practice. For those of you who don't really know me, I'm primarily a mid and carry player. Poseidon is probably by far my favorite god. He's not that great in the current meta, for a lot of reasons. There are just other mages that can do things better than him, but that being said, I still really enjoy playing him. He's a lot of fun. He has one of the best ultimates in the game, for a mage at least, in terms of just raw damage and what it can be used for. So I'm just going to talk about Poseidon before we even get into anything specific. One big thing with Poseidon is that he's just one of the fastest gods in the game, especially one of the fastest mid laners in the game, mages. This is because of a lot of reasons. He just has really good base speed stats, and his passive, when it fills up, gives him a pretty good speed buff. But we'll get into that later. Some quick things about positioning with Poseidon. Kind of like how you would with a normal mage, he kind of stands in the back line. He's really quick though, so if you want to get in and out of certain things, he can do that, but he is easy to lock down. So any like assassin with a lot of CC can kind of just wait for his moves to be over and kill him pretty easily. Although he can get away out of situations pretty easily. His ultimate, like I said, it's one of the, in my opinion, one of the best in the game, so you want to be using it frequently, pretty much as soon as you get it. Look for opportunities to use it, because it's going to be his most useful move. Don't be afraid to use his autos. Actually, you kind of need to be using his autos frequently, because it'll fill up his passive, and his passive gives him a lot of buffs. Not too many, but a lot of buffs. And he even has his 2, which will give him 3 autos. Some people play Poseidon in the carry role. I don't think that's terrible, but I think he's a better mid laner. So, some matchup information. He's good against mages who rely on a lot of mobility, because his 3 can cripple, so it kind of takes away that from them. So characters like Raijin, who need to use their 3 to get out of situations. I think he's pretty good against Merlin, because it takes away that blink. Merlin's still better, but it's just an example. You know, Agni, who has the 3. He's bad, though, against mages who are pretty good at diving, who have a lot of lifesteal, like Zhang Kui. Other mages that are quick, like Hebo, who has range. You could just 3 Poseidon whenever he wants. Poseidon can't really do much about it. And he's good with guardians that'll put people in good positions for him, like Ganesh. Ganesh ult someone and they're kind of trapped in those pillars, and you can just crack in them. Khepri, who can pull, but he's bad against aggressive supports, because they can just kind of go all in on him, and he can't really do much about them. Characters like, you know, Terra, warriors that are supports. He's bad against Geb just because of that shield, kind of ruins his ultimate. And he's also good with dive junglers on your team, so like characters like Erlang or Ratataskor, who can just get in there into another enemy, and Poseidon can just stay away and do whatever he needs to do. With that being said, let's talk about his abilities a little. Right First off, his passive Changing Tides. So Poseidon has a meter, and it fills up, and when it fills up, it gives him movement speed and basic attack, or ability damage. And his basic attacks are what fill this meter. So basically, if you were to just wait and fill up the meter, you can do a whole lot of damage. So it'll scale your abilities up 20% additional damage. And so if you fill up your meter all the way and kind of do your your 3 ultimate combo, then you're just guaranteeing a whole lot of damage. But then he gets the 15% move speed at the highest high level, so you kind of want to be careful with that. You definitely want to put yourself in positions a lot where you have the max meter, because you'll be a lot quicker and you'll be able to do a lot more damage. Tidal Surge, his one is a line ability. It does pretty good damage, but it's kind of hard to hit. So it'll do 260 just base damage without any items at its max, which is pretty good, because it's kind of quick. You basically want to use this move for wave clear and camp clear, because it's really hard to hit on people unless they're like, unless they're actually CC'd by someone else, and that there's someone else doing something to them and they aren't really paying attention to what you're doing. But yeah, his Trident, it gives him pretty good autos. His autos will start doing more damage to enemies, so it's really good with boxing mids, your other mid laner, especially early game, because you can just trade autos with them when your abilities are down, and you will win those fights. It also is really good at increasing your meter, because it will just count as 3 autos going into it, so it increases your move speed, and it gives you a pretty good move speed buff, which is just why one of the reasons why Poseidon is one of the fastest mages in the game, because of this move. And you will really feel it when you have max Changing Tides meter and you have the max Trident at like level 20. You activate it, you will feel that you are just really quick. And this move, unlike the other moves, it won't burn your passive, so you don't have to really feel bad about activating this, because you'll still have that max move speed and ability damage. His Whirlpool, this is his main clear for wave clear item. It is something that you kind of want to be maxing first, because it does the most damage. It does a lot of tick damage. It'll cripple your enemies too, so this is why the 3 into the Kraken is such a great combo, is because they really can't get out of it unless they have beads to be able to evade. It does slow a little bit. It's not too much. If you get Gem of Isolation, it'll be a pretty good slow, but mostly you want to be looking for the cripple. And then his ultimate, this is a great ultimate. It does a ton of damage, especially early game. You basically want to just be looking to get this ultimate off whenever you have the opportunity to, because it'll do a lot of damage. You want to be able to hit people in the center of it, because it'll give you the stun, and if you already 3'd them, then they'll be stunned into your 3, so they'll be taking Kraken damage, 3 damage. If you want to Tidal Surge them, you'll be adding that into it. It sets you up very good. It's very big, so it's good for team fights. I really like this move. Moving on to your ability paths. So level 1, you definitely want to get your 3 first, because this is what you're going to be using to clear wave and clear jungle camps. For level 2, I would recommend getting your 1 first, because this will just help you with camp clear and wave clear. So, and then for level 3, you can either get your 2 or your 3. If you want your 3 to be higher level already, and you don't really feel like you need the 2 for movement speed or for your autos, maybe you're not boxing very frequently, so there's no point. You're not really clearing camps frequently, so you just get the 3. It'll make wave clearing easier, it'll do more damage, it'll be more worth it. And then just get your 2, level 4, or increase your 3 if you didn't already do that. And then level 5, obviously you want to get your ultimate. This is a great look when you have your ultimate, because you will just be able to demolish the other mid laner if you just get the positioning right. If you just keep going, you want to just max out the 3. And then when you reach level 8, you can either just save up to get the next level, so you could get the 3 and the ultimate, because right now you can only invest in the 1 and the 2. So what I would do is I would just wait another level, so you could get the 3 and then the ultimate. And now you're a killing machine. Once you have this setup, you can go around and just absolutely destroy. And then just keep. I would next max your 1, because it'll be good for clearing, and I mean, if you want to max your 2, you can. It's not a big deal, but it'll be better for clearing. Let me just and reset my level. So now let's get into starting setups. So what you want to be doing level 1, what items you want to get, and how you want to go about playing the game. So what I would recommend, this is what I usually do. You don't have to do this every time, and you shouldn't do this every time, because there are different situations for different things, but I would get Mage's Blessing and tier 1 Spear, 1 health pot, 2 mana pot, and then probably beads. If you want to get Aegis, you can, but I think Poseidon level 1, it's better to get beads because he's already fast enough to get out of most things. Aegis isn't really going to save you a lot in this early game. But yeah, this is this general setup you want. So, you really want to get Spear because Poseidon's good with that burst damage. You want to get penetration online as quick as possible with this mage. So once you have this set up, it's pretty easy to understand, but you know, this is how quickly you're going to be clearing wave. And then you would obviously drop your whirlpool at speed buff with your jungle, but yeah, if you don't want to go spear though, level 1, there are a few other items that you can start with. Bancrofts you can do with Poseidon. You can get tier 1 Bancrofts. This is good if you really want that sustain, if you feel like you need it. You won't have that pen early on, you'll have to wait a little bit, you'll have to get it after you get boots and Bancrofts, but you will have lifesteal, and you will have... Bancrofts gives a pretty good amount of magic power, so it's not the worst. You could also get tier 1 Rod. This one I wouldn't recommend often because it's just Poseidon with Rod of Duty. It's good, but it's not like anything that special. It's good with killing like squishies, and it's good with, you know, confirming kills with your ultimate, but I don't really think you need it since your ultimate already does a lot. It already will do a lot of damage, especially with pen. You could also, if you want, go Book of Thoth. I don't recommend this either because Poseidon relies pretty heavily on burst damage, so I don't really think that you need the Book of Thoth for like long amounts of mana sustain and damage. I think it's better to just go Spear or Bancrofts.
This will turn the tide of battle.
So if you want to go into Spear, we can talk about the general item path you're going to be wanting to look at. So Mage's Blessing, Spear 1, and then I would recommend, before finishing Spear, I would recommend getting boots, and I would say get Shoots of Focus. This will give you cooldown, it'll give you mana, and Poseidon's pretty mana hungry, but yeah, it'll give you the cooldown's pretty nice on Poseidon. You wouldn't really want to choose a Magi. There's no point, unless you're playing like Poseidon carry. But this is a mid lane guide. So after you get that, you want to finish your spear, and you could do really any of the 3 spears here for your level 1. If you want to go Spear of Desolation, this will give you a pretty good cooldown. You'll have 175 power, 20% cooldown, and 15 pen. This is good just for doing like a lot of burst damage at once. It gives you a lot of magic power, and the cooldown's really nice because you could just get your ultimate up more often, which is really what you want on Poseidon. You could also go Magus. This is also pretty good. I would say it's probably equally as good as going Deso, simply because your 3 will proc the Spear of Magus, and you'll be able to do a lot more damage on your ultimate. So the passive is that your damaging abilities reduce magic protection. So if you 3 them, and then you Kraken them, then you already have a debuff on them, so you'll be doing a lot more damage that way. You could also go Divine, and I would recommend this if your enemy has, a lot of heal early game, like Jean Quay or Anubis. Because Divine Rune's a pretty good pen item, and like, it's maybe not as good as Magus and Desolation, but it's still a very solid penetration item. It'll give you 155 power, which is more than Magus will give you. It'll give you more pen than Magus as well, 15, and it won't give you cooldown like Deso will, but it'll give you that anti-heal, which is definitely going to be useful if you're playing, against the right gods.
With this, the tides grow stronger.
After you get your spear in any of the 3, I would recommend going into Soul Reaver. It is a pretty pricey item, but it's definitely a core item for most mages. With this, you will be giving yourself mana and magic power, a lot of magic power and a lot of mana. You'll have 305 magic power at this point. Let me my mage's blessings. You'll have 305 magic power. So your ultimate will do about 452 damage, I believe, at this point. If you haven't maxed, which you won't, but theoretically, it'll do that much damage. Let's see. So yeah, 315 plus 137. That's a lot of damage to be able to do. After this, I would recommend going into either Obsidian Shard, or you could go into a little bit of a utility item like a cloak. If you don't need the cloak right now, if you're not really getting dived often, you don't really need the defense in any way, then definitely go Obsidian Shard. It's another just core mage item. This will give you 375 magic power. It won't give you pen in the stats, but the passive will definitely be noticeable. It ignores 15% of enemy gods' magic protection, so at this point of the game, when you have, this is your 5th item, basically, you will be having trouble probably dealing with, enemy warriors or supports that are pretty tanky, and they'll be able to, get past all your moves. Hold up 1 second, I just dropped something. And, the more magic protection they try to get against you, the better Obsidian Shard will be. And the 70 magic power is pretty good. So then, if you got Obsidian Shard instead of a cloak, I would recommend getting a cloak, if you need it. I would say most of the time you do as Poseidon. My favorite cloak to get as Poseidon is definitely Map of Discord. Simply because it gives you cooldown in its stats, but it also gives you a really good passive that makes up for one of Poseidon's weaknesses, which is just being able to, he's squishy and just being able to be dived on with heavy CC. This will kind of get people off you. And Poseidon's fast enough so that the stun after the mantle will be very useful because you'll just be able to run away because you're really quick. Yo, why aren't you rotating? That's a good question. I should definitely be doing that a lot as Poseidon. No, just kidding. Moving on. Let's talk about the next item. So you're gonna want to sell Mage's Blessing, and you're gonna lose that cooldown that it gives you. So at this point, there are like a few options that you have with what item you can fill the Mage's Blessing slot with. Your first one is going to be Pythagorean's Piece. This is a very strong item in the current meta for pretty much any mage. And Poseidon works pretty well with lifesteal anyway, so this will give you 425 power, 24 lifesteal. It won't increase your pen at all, but it will give you max cooldown now that your Mage's Blessing is gone. And it's good if someone else is on your team, like a Sol or an Uleron or a Kronos, or a Jean-Quay or something, Jean-Quay solo, because it'll proc their lifesteal as well, so it's pretty useful. The next thing you could fill this slot with is Shaman's Ring. This item is pretty good because it gives you a lot of power. You'll be getting 465 power, yeah. And the passive will give you 10% additional damage from once you damage them with any ability. So that works well with Poseidon. You can do a 3 Kraken combo and it'll proc the Shaman's Ring when it's at full stacks. It's kind of similar to Spear of the Magus in that you need to use your 3 and then your ultimate. So Shaman's Ring, if you got Spear of Magus first, these two work pretty well together. If you don't want to get Shamans, you could get Soul Gem. It also gives you 10% cooldown. It's not the greatest. It only gives you 420 power. And 12% or 12 lifesteal, which isn't nearly as much as Pythax. It'll heal your allies a bit. Not too much, not anything really that noticeable, but it's not the worst item to get. And then another item you could fill the void with is Staff of Mirrodin, which is a very expensive item, not that great with Poseidon. It just doesn't work that well because usually Poseidon will 3 and then Kraken, and that means you don't have your 3 anymore, so you can't dual cast your 3, and if you were to dual cast your 1, it's just really not that reliable. That's two ones that probably neither one will really hit because Poseidon's 1 is not that reliable. If you were to do, what you could do is just save your 3 ultimate. Now you have 2 3s. The only problem with this is that you're wasting your ultimate on something you don't know if it's gonna hit or not, because if you don't have your 3 out, then you don't know if they're gonna be able to dash or evade or jump or leap just out of there. You can get Staff of Mirrodin, and if you have a support that, or a jungle or something that is good at locking down people and making sure they won't get out of it, then you could do Staff of Mirrodin, because then you would be able to ult and then double 3. But it's just not as reliable as you'd probably think it would be. So I wouldn't really recommend getting. It's not that great of an item with Poseidon. I would recommend getting Pythagorean's Piece. It's a very strong item in the current meta. It gives you a lot of health too, which is really nice. A lot of lifesteal, some sustain. Works really well with the rest of your team if you can build your team right. So then you're gonna get the speed pot. Sell boots. You're gonna lose that 10% cooldown again. So basically, you can fill this void with any of the above items I mentioned. So there's Shaman's, excuse me, Shaman's Ring, Staff of Mirrodin, or Soul Gem. I would recommend doing Shaman's Ring.
This will turn the tide
But
of battle.
there are other options as well. There are other items that give you cooldown. You could get Spirit Robe if you really feel like you need it. It's not that great with Poseidon. It gives you the crowd control reduction, which I guess is nice, but it's not, it's not that great of an item for Poseidon. And then another item that you could get is Witchblade, it's probably more useful for Poseidon carry. It gives you good attack speed and movement speed, so you'll be even faster, but it's still just Witchblade. It's not that great of an item with Poseidon, it's just not useful. So I would recommend getting either Spirit Robe or Shaman's Ring. Where is it? So this would be your full item build with Poseidon at endgame. I really like this build. This is a good standard build to have. You'll be doing a ton of damage with your ultimate. You'll be really useful in team fights. You'll be able to stay alive with the mantle. It's a pretty good build. If you did not go Spear level 1 and you instead went Mage's Blessing and then Bancroft tier 1, it's not going to be that different. It's going to be a little bit more of a flexible build. You won't really have that strict of a regimen to follow. I would still recommend going Shoes of Focus, finish your Bancrofts, and then get one of the spears. Probably Magus with this, because I mean, you get Spear of Deso when you want like max cooldown and burst damage, but you already have Bancrofts, so you might as well get Magus, and you will get the proc from Magus's passive often, so it's a really good item to get. Then just follow the rest of the build, get Soul Reaver, Oboe, or Obshard. You can get a Cloak, anyone you want. You can get Magi's with Poseidon, but it's not that useful unless you're playing maybe a Cirquet, or maybe an assassin that's really good at diving you and providing heavy CC. But then again, Mantle will still proc on most of those. So your boots, and then you can get a few things. This build does open you up to getting Rod of Tahuti on Poseidon, which is pretty good. It's really good at killing squishies. It's really good at confirming kills. Your ultimate will do a ton of damage against people without protections, like a mid or a carry. But then there's the question of how often are you in a situation where you're able to just do that. 7 through 7, yo, do you have a YouTube or something where I could check this build out at a later time? I do, in fact. I have a YouTube channel, Try of Power. I will be posting this later to it. So check it out on there. Moving on, if you didn't want to get Rod of Tahuti, if you want more lifesteal, just get Pythags again. Or you get Shamans again. But this is a pretty powerful build here. If you want to look at the stats, 515 power, that's a lot. Only 10 pen with the Magus, but it's not a huge deal versus the 15. 15 lifesteal, which it's alright. You got the Bancroft, so it's pretty good lifesteal. The passive will proc more lifesteal. Yeah, that's gonna be what that build looks like. If you want to go the other builds, like Rod of Tahuti first, I think you can really just guess what it would be. Rod of Tahuti would be always get blue shoes on Poseidon. Just want to finish Rod, get your spear, definitely Soul Reaver, Obsidian Shard, and also if you want, you can just get Obsidian Shard late game and sell it for Spear of Magus, and then just pick up Desolation or Divine Ruin if you really want. You can replace Obsidian Shard with Spear of the Magus if you want. The damage will still be there. and then you could get any item you want, so like Pythax, Shamans. And then if you went Book of Toth, you probably will want to do a little bit of a different build. You want to like do more, get more mana. You want to be like more mana sustain. So you want to get a spear, Soul Reaver. You can get Book of the Dead if you want. You want to get things with mana, so Book of the Dead's pretty good. Let's see, any of these mana items really that do damage. But yeah, the Book of Toth build with Poseidon's just not that great. It's not really that strong. He's just not built. He's just not made for that.
Turn the tide of battle.
So yeah, that's the Poseidon build. Let me get his item build up once more, just to show you.
With this, the tides grow stronger.
So yeah, that's basically Poseidon for you. Some last minute things, just about like actually playing the game, positioning. Because Poseidon's so quickly, you don't have to be afraid to move around a lot. Make sure you have the 2 when you get into danger, because it'll just make you really quick. You want to ult frequently as Poseidon, like very frequently. Like as frequently as you can. Simply because his ultimate's really good and it's his best feature. It's really one of his only good features, to be honest. He's not without his ultimate he really wouldn't be that much, but you kind of want to stay in the back line though for the most part. You kind of want to be passive, make sure that your Guardian's there to peel for you, because you can get dived in a team fight pretty easily. And if he dies in a team fight, you just lost a Kraken, so you lost like a lot of guaranteed damage. So you kind of want to hide behind, try to hide behind walls as much as possible. Try to Kraken people through walls if you can with like ward and vision. Something about his ultimate, it's not the people that you want to use it on are you want to try to use it on as much people as possible in a team fight, because it's really big. You can get a lot of people in it. It's not a waste to use it on tanks and warriors, but you need to make sure that the Kraken's actually gonna, guarantee kill someone, or at least, set yourself up for something really good, or kill an objective, because if you don't, then you're kind of wasting his only great move, and he really can't do anything after that. The cripple is good, but it doesn't do enough, But that's it for Poseidon. Thanks for watching the guide. I'll be uploading this to YouTube. Yeah. Thanks everyone for watching. 7 through 7.